freezing there in the winter time.
Oh, yeah. Yes, and they live near a lake, which makes it a little colder. I've been to their house once. I was back with my sister's wedding in 2015. Brought my daughter and her boyfriend, that's her boyfriend, that off at their house. And it was the first time I've been to their house now. And
Great.
it was out in the middle.
Okay, if everybody's ready, I'm ready to convene the meeting and welcome all the members to the June meeting. Pat, you want to go ahead and do a roll call?
Vice Mayor Veronica Malone, City of Avondale.
Here.
Councilmember Clay Goodman, City of Buckeye.
Present.
Mayor Kevin Harkey, City of Chandler.
Present.
Vice Mayor Monica Dorsey, City of El Mirage.
Present.
Councilmember Mike Charnow, Town of Fountain Hills.
Present without lunch.
Oh, no.
Sorry, I apologize. Mayor Bridget Peterson, Town of Gilbert.
Present with lunch.
With lunch.
City of Glendale, Councilmember Lauren Tomachoff.
Present.
Vice Mayor Bill Stipp, City of Goodyear.
Present.
Maricopa County Supervisor Jack Sellers.
Present.
Councilmember Francisco Heredia, City of Mesa.
Present.
Vice Mayor John Edwards, City of Peoria.
Present.
Mayor Kate Gallego, City of Phoenix.
Present.
Councilmember Jeff Brown, Town of Queen Creek.
I'm here on the WebEx.
Mayor David Ortega, City of Scottsdale. He was here earlier. We'll check again for him. Councilmember Chris Judd, City of Surprise.
Present.
Councilmember Robin Arredondo Savage, City of Tempe.
Present.
City of Tolleson, Councilmember Adolfo Gomez. Town of Wickenburg, Mayor Rui Pereira.
Present.
And Town of Youngtown, Mayor Michael LeVault. Chair, we're ready to proceed.
Thank you, Pat. If there's any members of the committee that would like to ask a question, they're on the phone. If you could just type in your comment in the box and it'll be read aloud. Please, as a reminder, mute your phone or your microphone. And I'm going to ask that we, since we haven't done it in quite a while, that we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance since we're actually here together. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first on the agenda is the public comment. For today's meeting, public comment has been taken in a written format and will be entered into the official minutes of the meeting. Item number 2 is the Chief Executive Report, Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and once again, welcome back, everybody, from a long morning. We'll do this quick as we can. First thing I want to bring out, I believe I sent an email that all of you should have received on Monday talking about the latest, greatest good news we have. This one in the city of Tempe, where the FTA allocated $17.4 million in American Recovery Plan relief funds to the Tempe streetcar project. This is in addition, as I mentioned, to the $81 million from the same bill that we received in the city of Phoenix. I believe in March we have that news. So about $100 million that was unexpected and grateful to have. We're not going to send it back. We're going to make good use of that these new funds on those projects. They are related to those. Also, an update on the West Valley Transit Services. I think we talked last meeting about the challenge we were having in with the current provider and making sure we could retain service. The good news is that a meeting with your staff, I believe a week ago, it was last week, beginning of last week, we reached consensus within the West Valley region to move forward under revised terms with our provider. So service will be uninterrupted, and let you know it's to continue on with the base term of that contract, but to the direction was to immediately begin the the search for a facility that we can control, and then we'll take that through the next 3 years and see how that goes. But it looks like some normalcy in service and has been preserved, and we're happy for that and really grateful to all your staff. There was a lot of meetings and a lot of conversation, a lot of input from every city that was directly involved. City of Phoenix was involved also, and we're really grateful to your staff for all the input they had and look forward to continue to work with them. Just want to give you an update on paratransit ride choice. This has been an interesting dilemma during, not dilemma, but an interesting subject during the pandemic as ridership has ebbed and flowed. Just so you know that many cities in our region, including Glendale, Phoenix, Peoria, I believe reopened your senior centers this year. And so what that has done, that has created a surge of demand for our paratransit. One thing that you should know, and our ride choice, in both areas, our paratransit provider, Transdev and Ride Choice American Logistics, have been met with the same challenges that other have, is hiring sufficient number of drivers and workers to provide services. So I just wanted to give you a heads up that we're working with them and trying to bring enough personnel on to where we can operate that service without interruption. You may not get a phone call from a customer who maybe had to wait. And I just say that until that smooths out with this surge, you might want to expect that. We're really working. It's just tough to get people working out there. It really is, and especially at that level. The next thing is, 2 years ago, we all met in a very cool and comfortable OMC. Yeah, Mayor Peterson said, that's not how you remember it, right? By the way, I would like to invite all of you, especially those of you who attended that in July, and I think it was July 31st. It was horrible out there. We turned on the air conditioning at the OMC a week ago. As part of the plan, the expansion, we completely revamped the AC, and it actually is I would like to say comfortable in there, as opposed to being miserable. No, I mean, you need to go out there, Mayor, just to make sure you see the difference. We went out for a thank you little get together with all our employees, and I was so grateful, and to you for putting this, to have maintenance workers come in and just say, thank you. This is amazing, especially the week before the 115. It was great. But getting back to the subject, we were there to announce a partnership with Waymo. This partnership had a 2-year life, and it is now coming up on that 2-year life. Waymo and ASU is also involved in that. And the idea was a pilot program to gain some information and knowledge. And just want to let you know that that has played out. Actually, ASU submitted a report at the end of May to the FTA on the autonomous vehicle demonstration with our ride choice. We are just awaiting for FTA to return that report. Once it's available, we will send it out to you. I can say that we felt this pilot program was very successful. And Mayor Gallego, we had talked earlier about what are we looking for the future for. This is an example of things we're looking at, because there's no doubt that autonomous vehicles will play some role in public transportation in the future, and we really wanted to know what that is like. We're going to continue to work with ASU and Waymo, and we may be coming back to you later with some other things we want to try just to understand what it will look like, and we will once again get you that report the second we get it back from the FTA. We thought we might have it by today, but they're not finished with it. They don't have it. I also want to tell you about something that we're really proud of, and we hope everything turns out well. Just a couple, 3 days ago, one of the subcontractors on the OMC project collapsed and became unresponsive. These 3 gentlemen, one works for Brookville, was there working on the streetcar. The other 2 are Valley Metro, jumped in and provided CPR and basically saved this gentleman's life until the fire department could get there and paramedics were there and continue that. The person at last heard is still in very bad position, but he definitely would have died. So love it when our employees and contractors just step right up, and you can imagine they were performing CPR for quite a few minutes before they came. So thank you to our heroes, Maxwell Zuniga, John Carter from Max Zuniga from Valley Metro, John Carter from Brookville, who I believe is on the left, and they're the ones that supported, while Mark Mao, also from Valley Metro, coordinated calling 911 and getting the fire department in there. I would like to, in a very, very bittersweet, sad note for me, this is Paul Hodgins' last board meeting. Paul will be officially retiring after 30-plus years of service to Valley Metro on July 9th, and I just can't tell you for everybody how Fortunate it has been for me. I think one of the best days of my 5.5 years was the day that the board decided to hire Paul Hodgins. He is a wealth of knowledge, knows the finances of this group inside and out, is a man of absolutely impeccable integrity. I'm just, Paul, absolutely grateful to have been able to work with you and wish you the best. Although after July 9th, I may be cursing you every day because you're not here. We definitely will miss him. We will really, really miss him. Well earned. For July, we have canceled our meetings since there is not pressing business. And the last thing I have, and I didn't want to take the thunder, just to let everybody else, staff and all know that today, I operate under a contract, and my contract has terms, and my contract actually runs for another year to June of 2022. And generally during my evaluation, I discuss with the board the term and extending that. And I informed the board today that I was not planning and was not asking for an extension to my contract. So Paul will be long retired, but I am also going to be making the transition, and I am so grateful and so happy not to leave, but to be able to say that when I do leave and as I work this out and enter my retirement and we go through a transition to a new generation of leadership, I am so proud to work with Valley Metro staff, and I have absolutely total confidence and comfort knowing that regardless who sits in this chair as my successor, they will have an organization that is healthy, that is probably as healthy as it has ever been. I know it's the healthiest it's been since I've been here as your CEO. Complete confidence in the skill, talents, and the passion and commitment of our staff. And I'm just looking forward to working with you and everyone else as we transition to a new generation of leadership at Valley Metro. So with that, Mr. Chair,
Thank you.
my report.
Well, Paul, I want to, on behalf of the board, I just want to wish you well in your retirement. Hope you still stick around and check in with us from time to time. Not vacationing too much out there. So, okay, item number 3 is going to be the minutes. The minutes for the May 20th joint meeting are presented for approval. I need a motion and a second to approve.
Move approval of the May 20th, 2021 joint board meeting.
So we have a motion
Second.
and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
Okay. That carries. Okay. Item number 4 is the Audit and Finance Subcommittee update. Councilmember Arredondo Savage is going to provide us an update of the meeting that was held on June 3rd.
Awesome. Thank you, Chair Edwards. Much appreciated. And first and foremost, too, you've already said it. So thank you so much to Paul with AFS. We've worked with him very diligently over the years, and we just want to say thank you so much for all that you do and have done for this organization. And I just want to say thank you to my fellow committee members. I mean, it has really been a kind of a rocky year in a way when it comes to our budget and making sure that we are doing what the intent of AFS is to do, is to take the deep dive, ask the hard questions, and address any concerns or challenges that we may be having. So I just want to say thank you for all your time and your energy. This is something that you didn't necessarily always sign up to do, but it's been a lot of work, and you guys have been really amazing. And I just really want to say thank you for that. Just really quick to go through some of the things that we did. I want to thank the board for giving us the opportunity to meet again and go through some of those questions that were asked regarding the budget. We did get a chance to really dive in a little bit deeper, get some of that information that we had been asking for, and to really kind of understand. I think one of the best things was to go through the budget reduction scenario exercise. I thought that was a really good exercise for us to kind of see what challenges we have, where we can be more efficient, some of the things that we can do within the budget, not just this year, next year, but I think for years to come. So what I would say is, what we would leave you with, though I think as AFS, we do have some concerns regarding the budget and maybe tightening our belts a little bit more. We really just want to work on a couple of things, which would be to, really work on efficiencies first and foremost, and transparency. Some of the things that we want to continue to keep our pulse on this next year as we do move forward with this budget and understand where we are. We know the budget will be approved today, but we want to make sure that we keep a really good pulse on things such as our office space, ensuring that we are being as efficient as possible, looking at our vacant positions and how we hire those if we do. The paratransit contracts, I know that came up earlier too, and that's kind of a really big deal. and really understanding and getting better understanding from the AFS of how our fund balance and our reserve policy works. That was kind of one thing a little bit new that we dug into a little bit more this year. We want to continue to do that. And just overall, just it's really important too that, you know, we, as we move into the new system, that we keep the fare box recovery and consistent enforcement throughout the region. Another thing that we really want to focus on too. But overall, we really learned that we'd like to focus on a smaller, sustainable growth pattern for the future, and really just work for a 0 to 5%, you know, reduction in expenses and see what that happens. I think that there is some possibilities to do that in the near future, but just to really take that deeper dive like we've been doing, and you know, ask the hard questions and ensuring that we are being as transparent and as efficient as we possibly can. So I just, again, want to give kudos to these committee members who have really done a lot of hard work this last year. I just want to say thank you guys so very much for that. And hopefully the board appreciates our work. And like I said, doing the deeper dive, making sure that, you know, we're all really comfortable and feeling responsible and fiscally conservative as we move forward. So anyway, that would be it. The other thing that we did touch up on a little bit too was our FY22 audit plan. So very happy to be working with our new auditor. Things have been going really good there. And also we did talk a little bit about the AFS role when it comes to hiring the CFO. And we want to ensure that the AFS does have a part in the process as we work very closely with them throughout the whole year, and realize that I think our input would be really important to the process. So that's it, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Vice Mayor, could I amend my CEO? Councilmember Redondo Savage, remind me of one thing I forgot to tell you about.
Sure.
And thank you very much, because I've told you about, but I haven't told the rest of the board. With Paul Hodgins leaving, we are putting together a CFO recruitment process based on previous ones we've had. I've asked Jim Hilliard to be responsible to lead that effort, working with Penny Lynch in our HR. I've also asked Jim Hilliard to serve as the interim Chief Financial Officer until we have a full-time CFO on board. So on January 10th, Jim will be assuming that position in addition to his other duties. And the good thing about that area of finance and procurement is that we have amazing managers with Liz and Patty and Tyler as the three primary managers there. And so that's our plans going forward. So Paul, when he leaves, Jim will take over as the interim CFO.
Thank you.
Hey, Scott, thanks for bringing that up, because I think the one thing that we realized in our AFS is how important it is that we want to have a part in that, and that realizing that last process that you mentioned hasn't happened for 6 years. So I love the idea of just kind of making sure that whatever that process is, that recruitment process, that we just analyze it, ensure that's still the process that we want to continue to move forward with too. Thank you.
And we have taken a note, and the board will have multiple opportunities to be involved in the process at different levels and stages of the recruitment process.
Okay, thank you. And Robin, thank you and committee for really keeping an eye on things and reporting back to us. I think by you doing this report on a monthly basis, you're really keeping us informed. Not that we're not informed, but you guys are just bringing more attention to some of the things that maybe don't necessarily fall through the cracks, but just kind of take a little bit more time. And I really appreciate you and the members taking the time to analyze and bring it to our attention, because it means so much to us. So thank you so much. Yes, Mayor.
Just want congratulations to Paul and best wishes. And then I want to thank our chairwoman for leading us during a very difficult year. We went through a lot of uncertainty economically. You helped us hire a new auditor. You helped bring some real rigor to the audit committee, and I just really want to thank you for your service.
Okay, item number 5 is the fiscal year 2022 intergovernmental agreement, IGA.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You have in your packet a list of, you can see the numerous agreements we have with you as cities. One thing that I would like to state, and I can't remember if we updated this, but when we got to TMC, the management committee, there, because of the West Valley service and because of some unfinished calculations with the ARP, some of these numbers are not exact what they will be. And so what we're asking for today is just the authorization for me to sign the IGAs at the point in time that the city staff and our staff agree on the amount. So there's still some, that's the authorization, and that's why we don't have to come back later and we can sign some of these things that you need to get your business done, because not all cities are in the same boat. Some we have an exact numbers, others don't, but it will be based on the approval of your city management, and the managers approved that stipulation. So that's what we're asking for here, is just to give the authority to sign those when the final number is agreed upon by the city manager and our finance department.
Chair,
Yes, Mayor.
any idea on timing for that, Scott?
I would think July, August at the latest, Paul?
I'll make Paul work some more since it's
Yeah, why don't
his
you?
last meeting.
Thank you, Mayor. We continue to work with your staff. As we speak, I believe we've gotten, or should have, a couple of updated IGAs out in the next couple of weeks, but I would say no later than July, we'll have all the updated information out.
And that'll be including the funds. When would we receive the money, I should say?
Right.
Yes, including all the American Rescue Plan funds, which would reduce, for most cities, would reduce the IGA amount from what's in the packet, yes.
Great,
Yeah, the way that flows through is it comes in and we give you a credit
okay,
for the amount that is your share.
okay. And so we hope to see that by July.
And as you remember, there were discussions as to exactly how that would apply to different cities, and the cities were unsure. So now we're sorting all that out. We hope to have it by the end of July.
Perfect, thank you. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so I'm requesting a motion and a second to authorize the CEO to execute the 2022 IGAs and IGA amendments as listed and for the periods of performance.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item number 6, excuse me, is the executive session action items. So we have 2 of them. I'm requesting a motion and a second to approve a 3% merit pay to the CEO and an increased paid amount time off accrual to 11 hours of PTO effective July 1st, 2021.
So moved.
Have a
Second.
motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Did you get those? Pat?
I have Mayor Gallego is a nay. Vice Mayor Stipp is a nay. And I'm sorry, I didn't hear the person that was on the line.
That was me, Pat.
Oh, okay.
Robin.
Okay. Is there anyone else that was a nay that I missed? Yes, she is. Mhm. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so that motion carries. Okay, the second one is a request and for a motion and a second to give the general counsel a 3% merit increase and an increase of 3% to his base salary. Have a motion. Those in favor, say aye.
Wait, Mr. Chair,
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry.
we need to make sure we have that clear. It's a 3% lump sum
Lump sum increase.
and a 3% to base.
That's correct. Sorry about that.
No, just want to make sure it was clear for the record.
Yeah, sorry about that. You get that?
Do you need me to amend the motion, or?
She's,
I have it.
we got it.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Those opposed? All right, motion carries.
Okay, hold on.
Item number 7 is the travel and expenditure solicitations. This is for presentation only. Does there anybody have any questions? Okay. Number 8 would be the future
ready?
agenda items.
608.
Somebody's not muted.
Sorry, you're not muted over here,
Somebody's
over
not
there.
muted.
You got it, okay. Item number 8 is the future agenda items and report of current events. Are there any members that likes to place something on the future agenda?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I would like to request a special board meeting at a regularly scheduled time in July to discuss the recruitment process for the CEO position.
Okay. We accommodate that?
I guess we could. We've got a placeholder on the schedule that day.
You got it. Okay, any other items? No? Okay, the next meeting for the board was scheduled for Thursday, August 19th at 11:15, and that is adjournment for this meeting. All right, and now I'm going to call the Valley Metro RPTA Board meeting to order. Do we need to do a roll call, Pat, or we're good? Okay. So item number one for today's meeting, public comments is being taken in a written format and will be entered into the official minutes of the meeting. Item number two is a consent agenda. The consent agenda was presented for action. Are there any members of the committee that have any questions? Okay. If there's no questions, I'm requesting a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda.
Move approval of the consent agenda?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, thank you. Item number three is the Valley Metro RPTA fiscal 2022 proposed operating and capital budget and 5-year operating forecast and capital improvement through 2026. Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And if I might, for the items that are coming up, I know we've been here a long time and you look at the item, the number of presentations. We're going to cut those down, but please be free to ask any question you like. We'll stay here as long as you need the questions answered. So I'm going to turn over to Paul, who will give an abbreviated presentation, but always, we're not trying to shortchange you. We just want to be sensitive to your time. And if you have any questions on any of these items, please ask and we'll answer them as best we can. So Paul?
Thank you, Scott. Mr. Chair, members of the board. For the fiscal 22 budget, again, we went through a fairly detailed presentation last month. We've provided some additional detail to the AFS and had a lot of great discussion at the last AFS meeting, for which I very much appreciate the AFS members for that. All of that information was included in the packet. Rather than go through all of the presentation, I would just offer to answer any questions or concerns that may still remain.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Lauren.
Thank you. I do have a question, and I guess it's really more of a concern, is when we adopt the budget, are we adopting this new org chart that was in the budget that was delivered to us? Because there are changes to it that have not been discussed. So I know when we adopt our budget, we're adopting the org chart. So I just want to make sure that I understand what we're doing. And if not, I'd like to exclude that the budget until we've received our analysis from our council on the reporting structure and all of that. So.
Council member, I believe the org charts are presented for information. It's not something that's necessarily approved by the board. The board is approving the expenditure budget for the year and accepting the 5-year forecast.
It's an attachment. It's a good question. So is it an attachment? It's included in the budget book. So I just want to make sure, I guess we can include it in the motion that we're not necessarily adopting this org chart at this time. Okay.
We provide a lot of additional information about the agency, about some statistics, about the region, and especially at the back of the budget book. And really, it's for information. It's not part of what the board is approving.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry,
I was
Mayor.
trying to get my mic turned on before I raised my hand.
Sorry.
Paul, can you explain how the ARPA funds are included in the budget?
Mayor, the ARP funds are not currently included in the budget.
Okay.
That would be an additional revenue source. But again, what the board is approving is the expenditure authority. So what the additional ARP funds will do is essentially relieve city funds and our regional PTF from some of the subsidies for the operating expenses. So we'll take care of that through the IGA process with the cities. And it would not affect the expenditure budget that you're approving.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? No? All right, Paul. Thank you. Going once? All righty. So looking for a.
Mr. Chair, let me just make this comment. Paul, I really appreciate, and obviously I said my goodbyes at the AFS meeting, but for this this particular meeting and what we've gone through with the budget. I appreciate the extra material and the background information so that all of the board members, both new and old, if I can say that,
Seasoned.
that we appreciate that and thank you. And I know your staff is here and listening, but I know it was extra work, but it was needed and it was greatly appreciated. So thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? You sure? Okay, all right, so I'm requesting a motion and a second to approve the fiscal 2022 proposed operating and capital budget and for the acceptance of the 2022 through 2026 5-year operating and capital forecast. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I make that motion, but I'd like to include that just for that this org chart's not published with the budget until the board's had an opportunity to have further discussion.
Okay.
I second that.
Pat, you have that amendment? Okay. So all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? All right, motion carries. Okay, item number 4 is the proposed fare policy changes. Mr. Smith.
And Mr. Chair, I'll leave Paul up there, and this is his subject too.
Thank you, Scott. Mr. Chair, we do have a full presentation in the packet, but there are really 3 things that I'd like, just to condense the presentation, 3 things that I'd like to bring to the board's attention. Well, really 4. The first is we're going to take some of these proposed changes out to the public for some comment, for some outreach to get some feedback on that. And the 3 items that we're really taking to the public for discussion that we want to implement as part of the new fare collection system, one is what we call fare capping. So what we're proposing with the new system is to eliminate the mag stripe passes that we have today, where you would buy a day pass or a weekly pass or a monthly pass. And what we will have are stored value accounts, either through a mobile app or through a smart card. And so you won't buy a day pass. You'll have a smart card with value on it, and all of the daily or the monthly capping happens on the back end. So if you have $5 on your card and you tap, $2 is deducted for your fare, another $2. The third trip you take that day will only won't deduct anything because you've hit the $4 day pass cap. So it would be the same price. And then you ride for the rest of the day without value being deducted. And so that just continues to happen. So all of that day or weekly or monthly activity is tracked on the back end. The passenger just needs to ensure that there's value on the card. And anybody going to buy a new card from a retail facility doesn't have to decide, do I want a day pass or a monthly pass? It's just the same card and they put value on it. So that's the first major change with the new system. The second thing we want to do is to implement a policy that requires a reduced fare ID so that anybody eligible and wanting to use the reduced fare, so youth, seniors, persons with disabilities, would have to go through an eligibility process, and their account would be tagged on the back end, either through their mobile app or through their smart card, to identify them as reduced fare. And then that way, only the reduced fare gets deducted from the stored value. So it's one of those controls that we want to put in place to really ensure that only those who are eligible are able to take advantage of the reduced fare. So that's the second thing that we want to go out for public comment. And the third thing is to implement a streetcar fare. We anticipate the streetcar opening this fall, and we're proposing for a base fare of $1 for a single ride in the streetcar or 50 cents for a reduced fare ride on streetcar. But all of the regional fare media, our current passes, or ultimately the mobile app, mobile tickets, or the smart card will be accepted on the streetcar. This is just a fare for that single ride. So really, those are the 3 things we want to take out to the public. We just wanted you to be aware that that's what we're doing, and we'll come back at some point in the future with public reaction, public feedback, and then hopefully an action to amend the fare policy with those items. So that was a very quick overview. As I said, the information's in your packet. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have about some of these proposed changes.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody have any questions? No? All right. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 5 is the 2021 Transit Lifecycle Program bus update. Mr. Smith,
And Mr. Chair, as you've seen, Paul has not left the podium, and therefore I'm going to turn.
would you like a chair?
Oh,
No, I'm fine.
we're making him work.
I've been
for the
sitting for a
last
long
day.
time.
For the last one.
Thank you, Scott, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Again, the full presentation's in your packet. This is the Transit Lifecycle Program. This is what we use to manage our Prop 400 funds. Part 1 of the requirements in Prop 400 for the 20-year tax is that we implement a budgeting process that ensures that our revenues and expenditures are balanced for the life of the tax. So right now, we're sitting at about 15 years or so of actuals, with about 4 to 5 years left of our forecasted plan. So we continue to work with your staff on what that looks like. We've incorporated all of our changes that are in the short range program. And so there's a bit of a good news, bad news here. First of all, the good news is that the program, the cash flow is balanced. We do have revenues that exceed our estimated expenditures for the 20-year tax. So from that perspective, we're balanced and we meet the statutory requirement to have a balanced program. The other thing, though, is that during the recession, we adopted a jurisdictional equity policy. So as we look to reduce the program because of the nearly 40% loss or decrease in our forecasted revenues, we adopted this jurisdictional equity policy by subregion, West Valley, Central Valley, and Phoenix, that we needed to be within 2.5% of what was programmed in the initial Prop 400. So we're a little bit out of balance with that. That is a board policy, not a statutory requirement. And so we will continue to work through some of the options for either programming changes to the program or potentially looking at increases in revenue. We do have a very conservative fare revenue forecast, assuming that ridership will not come back quickly. And also this year, as we've been talking about, our Prop 400 revenues have greatly exceeded what our forecast was. And we do anticipate that the next update from ADOT for the forecast for the remainder of Prop 400 will likely be higher. So that will also help to kind of bridge that gap on the jurisdictional equity changes. So we will continue to work with your staff on that issue, helping to bring that jurisdictional equity in balance to make sure that the program for that board policy is balanced. So that was very quick, very high level. Be happy to answer any questions. Just so you know, we continue to work with your staff. We would look to come back perhaps in August or September to adopt a balanced plan.
And
Before you, I have a question because I'm really concerned about this because you have routes in place or that were proposed in place that were going to be funded that now potentially could not be funded. And a lot of the cities have already done their budgeting thinking that these routes were going to be taken up by Valley Metro, and the potential is maybe that they're not. So I sure hope that this is going to come back as a board discussion so that we can go, whatever your changes you're proposing, that we get some say in it. Because I know, I've met with the CEO on this, and one in particular for my city, we cannot afford not to have that route funded because we don't have the funding. We have not approved funding from a council perspective to continue that route going forward. So I'm really concerned about this. I don't know about how other cities are feeling about it, but me specifically, I'm very concerned about this.
Yes, understood. Yeah, these are not proposals. These are all, to achieve that balance, one of the things the policies requires is that we work with the cities. So the cities in that sub-region have to come together. We provide information. It's not a Valley Metro proposal to cut this or to change this. We're very much committed to meeting the commitments that we've made in the TLCP. And certainly, I believe with the increased revenues, I know there's some optimism about the economy continuing to perform better, unemployment coming down. So I do anticipate the forecast will come up. Those items were provided simply for information, food for thought for the subregion, for those cities to discuss. Hopefully, we don't ever have to implement any of them, that hopefully the revenues get to a point where, that really provides the revenues to meet those commitments. We don't want to make any of those cuts. But again, to kind of meet that board policy, we do need to look at all of our options.
Sure. Okay. Sorry, Scott.
no, you perfect lead in to me. The second thing is, this is not a situation that has to be solved today. It just has to balance out before 2025. So we really have 4 years to do that, to come up with solutions. Obviously, to implement certain things might come up. The third thing is, this was a board policy that was established. We talked earlier today about policies that were established based on certain situations. This didn't start out as a hard accounting issue that says you must stay within these lines. The original Prop 400, the board policy was that jurisdictional would be monitored, but there was no requirement that you stay within the lines. That came out after the Great Recession in 2010 or 11. Times change. This board could decide to change that policy if they wanted to. And so we put it on the table so that we could have that discussion. As a matter of fact, in our managers meeting, just so you know, there were comments made that this is, and I think it was also in the West Valley managers meeting, there were comments made by city managers that this is really not a great way to manage a transit program. Because, for example, those options that were put out there, not proposals, but options, we could literally be faced with a situation where in some cities around this valley, we're cutting and changing service to make a jurisdictional equity balance only for accounting reasons. Has nothing to do with the service, and at the same time that we're going to the public to ask for Prop 400 extension. It's really a messed up situation that demands more discussion. And we wanted to raise it right now and put it out there on the table. We have some options with the increased revenue, with other parts that we can have this discussion. But one of the things that is open to you is to decide what that policy is, and you can change it. As Paul said, it is not in statute. The only thing that's in statute is that the program be balanced over the 20-year term. That's what the TLCP is. How we divvy that up inside is really a board policy, and you can review that, change that, amend that, stay where it is, how you want. So I just want to make sure the board understands that they do have that option available to them.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay?
Yes, Mayor.
Paul, you said subregions a couple of times and the I can't say that word. You know what I'm trying to say.
JE, yes.
Equity. Do you expect us to be having subregion meetings on our own, West Valley, East Valley, Central? Or will that all be taken care of through Valley Metro?
Yeah, we have been meeting with the subregions. That's led by our service planning group, Joe Gregory. So we've had numerous subregional meetings with both the West Valley and the East Valley, and we will continue to do so. So we lead that coordination effort. We provide information and kind of facilitate the discussion.
And if I could add to that, this is an awkward situation because it's within the subregions that the accounting is done on a subregion basis. It's within those regions that the cities in those regions get together and figure out how to allocate. I'm sorry, no other way to say it. It pits cities against cities because you're trying to figure out how to divvy up the subregion pool. It's a very awkward discussion and situation for everybody. We try to do as much as we can at the staff level to make sure we can prepare it so that some of those things once they get to the policy level have already been agreed to or negotiated through. But I imagine that if this gets out of balance at all, there will be some very difficult decisions. You're lucky that right now the East Valley is not out of balance. Phoenix and the West Valley are the two that are out of balance. West Valley is over allocated and Phoenix is under allocated. So we'll have those discussions. The good thing is that we don't have to decide it tomorrow. But this 20-year plan is now
Shrinking.
And we really only have 4 years left with this budget. So it's coming up quickly.
Vice Mayor Stipp.
Thanks. Thank you. I would really be interested in seeing a staff analysis of what if we did away with that quote unquote board policy. The board policy was made during very, unusual times, never intended that way. What would be the consequences of that moving forward? I would like to see that before we have this discussion again, just from the staff, the Valley Metro staff perspective. Because I think the cities work well together and can figure this out, as opposed to this being something that it's imposed upon us. And I go back to the discussion that we had a number of years ago that when Glendale decided not to extend the light rail, that $51 million or whatever it was went back into the pool. And that launched a very difficult discussion, even in this room, that we've all kind of overcome. So I think this is a good starting point, but I'd really like to see that analysis.
And Vice Mayor, we can do that. I want to reiterate what Paul said. Valley Metro does not have the authority, nor would we ever impose anything on cities.
We are with our board policy.
No, what we've imposed is the guidelines, and to say you must stay within that balance. What you do in that is really cities getting together and deciding out how to split up the pie. That's not a Valley Metro function. We're not. That's just not us, and we wouldn't do it and can't do it. And so, but what we do is that we do the master accounting, and then what the cities decide, we implement. So when you're talking about bus routes, things like that, we throw everything on the table and just say, okay, I don't want to say we just throw it out there and let you go. We are deeply involved in this process, but at the end of the day, we're not going to impose anything on anybody. That's going to be a city discussion, both at the sub-regional and getting together a board discussion, because you may come down to the point where you say, hey, we can't get in balance without doing this, this, this. And then the board, I would expect the board would revisit the policy. Because at that point in time, you're making a decision on service levels and things like that. And that's how I envision that it will come up. Or it can be done before we ever get there. We just say, hey, listen, let's change the policy. We're not there yet, but there is discussion among your staff. And as I said, even at the management level, that's been thrown out there on the table, just recognizing that may be something that we need to address.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions? All right, well, this was for informational only, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. All right, item number 6 is the FY22 through 26 short-range transit program.
I know this gets really complicated, and I don't know if Joe's on the line and wants to do it, but this basically is just in your packet. The difference between the transit life cycle plan, as Paul said, is that is the accounting for Prop 400, regional monies. But our service is really dictated by what's in the short range transit plan, because that takes into account all of the services that you pay for outside of Prop 400. So the TLCP is how we deal with regional funds. The short range is how we deal with all sources of funds. That's local funds, if there's state funds, or if there's anything, that goes into that. So that's also in your packet. That is also just for information. Review it. I think Joe is here available if you have any questions. But once again, these are issues that I would say probably better discussed your staff, bring them to the table in the service planning working group, which works with Joe Gregory, and that would be the best place to really discuss any details of that plan. So unless there are questions.
Anybody have any questions or comments? Okay. And again, that was for presentation only. All right. Item number 7 is the fiscal 2022 election of Valley Metro RPTA board members and subcommittee positions. You all have the proposal. It's up here on the screen. So I'm looking for a motion and a second to approve the slate of officers and subcommittee positions that are presented.
So moved.
Give a motion.
Second.
And a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Okay. Item number 8 is the future agenda items. Anybody have any items that they'd like to be brought up for future agenda?
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to have clarification. Is there a plan in place to resume the option to attend in person the board meetings, or what is there any discussion about that?
Yes, there has been discussion. This is sort of the first trial run. We're going to discuss with the incoming chairs whether that will come into play in August or September.
Thank you.
We have had preliminary discussions with the incoming chairs, and we'll finalize that. You'll have plenty of notice.
Thank
And
you.
I would guess that if we do have a special meeting in July, it's probably a discussion we can probably have on WebEx because it's a single item. So we're looking for maybe August or September at the latest to resume in person. And we will all probably will just, the discussion has been to maintain the ability to have a hybrid, just like we do now. You can phone in. I guess the only difference is that now you'll just join us via WebEx as opposed to phoning in.
And having phoned in many times in the past, the WebEx is much better, I think. But I would suggest that if the July 22nd meeting is like 120 degrees, that it is WebEx.
That would be our plan.
I love coming to Phoenix, but.
It's a single issue, and we'll just, what we'll do is, Penny and Alexis and I will put together, based on the last process, basically how it went down. And just to give you, there was a search firm involved, there were subcommittees, there were multiple interviews, there was a lot of things done. And just so you know, it's a complete process that we'll go back to the old notes and pull that out and see what's been updated and things like that in the world of Zoom. Back then, we did have Skype, so we actually did a lot of, that's a funny thing, we actually did interviews via Skype. This time we just do it via Zoom and WebEx. So we'll get that ready for you before the July meeting, and we can have that discussion.
Okay. Anybody else?
And that will come from mainly Penny and probably Penny and Alexis.
Well, I was just wondering, we were doing study sessions before I left last year in March. Would that be a study session item for maybe before the August board meeting instead of a special?
Whatever
meeting in July?
whatever you would prefer to do.
Just
Mayor.
a suggestion.
Yeah, the reason I suggested it as a special board meeting is if we wait until August, we're already going to be 2 months
2
behind.
months, yeah.
So that if we do it in July and we make it an official meeting, we can take action, we can blah, blah, blah. The other thing is just to make sure that we aren't going to duplicate what we did the last time, perhaps that there's an opportunity to change. So hopefully that comes to us in a draft form as opposed to the way it came to us in the CFO recruitment.
No, Vice Mayor, we'll start with that as a basis. As I've said, things have changed. The last one included a series of Skype reviews, and I mean, it was different. But a lot of it will be driven by, I mean, I'm assuming with the position that's important that it will be, there will be a search firm involved. I would strongly suggest that, but that's your call. And yes, we just use it as a starting point. And what we'll do is there'll be very basic concepts, the levels of interviews, the type of board involvement. Obviously, this is a joint activity that the entire board needs to be, have opportunities to be involved in. A little different in your cities because when you hire a city manager, you might have 7 people involved. We have 19 people involved. So we're going to try and work with the committee chairs to at least come up with maybe a framework where everyone has an opportunity to be involved to their level of desire. And it is different because we do have tools now that we didn't have 6 years ago with WebEx and other tools. So it'll be based on that. We'll just use that as a starting point, not as a finish point.
And just last question, and this is for Pat. Pat, can you confirm that the date of what we had bookmarked? I've got 3 different dates on my calendar, so if you could do that for the whole group.
It was the 18th, July 22nd.
22nd.
July 22nd. Okay.
Yes.
So it'll be
With an 11:15 start time. That's our normal time to start. We'll issue a WebEx and the agenda materials, everything prior to the meeting.
Thank you.
All right, the next meeting is going to be on Thursday, August 19th at 11:15. But before I adjourn, I just wanted to thank everybody. This is my last meeting as your chair. I really appreciate everybody's support and indulgence during a difficult year with COVID. It's been my distinct honor to work with all of you. I will be staying on as a board member, and I look forward to continuing our efforts to strengthen this body. So thank you so much. And with that, we're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, usually we have a big to-do, but we don't,
I know.
that's what's the weird thing is when you're not joining in person, you forget about stuff like this.
Thank you, Chair Edwards. Nicely done.
Chair Heredia, we'll wait 1 minute while people clear off of the WebEx who are not attending the VMR meeting.
It's not.
If you need validation stamps, I have the book over here.
All righty, why don't we get ready? I see Robin still and Mayor Harkey is online, so convening the June meeting here, item number 1, public comment for today's meeting. Public comments being taken in written format and will be entered in the official minutes of the meeting. Item number 2, the consent agenda presented for action. Anyone have any questions or comments on the consent agenda? On the WebEx, no. Here. Request a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Mayor Harkey. Yep.
Second.
Second, Robin. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes. Item number 3, program management, construction management contract. Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I won't give a presentation. This is simply to ensure that we have continuing leadership on our 2 major construction projects. This contract is coming up under its normal 5-year term as we're building South Central, as we're building Northwest. And we did not want to, we wanted to ensure that we have the same team on board to work on through these projects. So we're asking for at least a 2-year, 2 one-year options to extend this contract for this particular, for Hill, which operates our construction management program. And in doing that, to add an additional $15 million to the contract authority so we can continue to pay them while they're on those 2 projects.
Perfect. Anyone have any questions or comments? Hearing none, request a motion and a second for the board to the Board of Directors authorization for the CEO to amend the Hill International Inc. contract for program management, construction management support to add up to $15 million for an extension period through September 2023.
So moved.
Is there a second? All right, Robin, all in favor say aye.
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 Robin's
Anyone
kicked
opposed?
back there now.
Motion passes. Item number 4, Valley Metro Rail Fiscal Year 2022 proposed operating capital budget and 5-year operating forecast and capital program. Mr. Smith.
Mr. Hodgins.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Chair, I would just offer to answer any questions. We've been through this. Actually, we didn't go through it last month. It was in the packet last month. But since 3/4 of the board members are on AFS, I think we've been through it a few times. So I'd just be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Perfect. Any questions, comments?
Chair, I just again like to thank Paul. I know we beat up the budget a lot this year and really kind of beat you up a little bit too, but you took it like a champ, and we do appreciate all of your work, and you're going to be really missed. So thank you. Thanks, Frank.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Paul. You seem very more relaxed today. So I think you're glad with the process moving forward. So I appreciate your support and work here as well. So request a motion and a second to approve the fiscal year 22 proposed operating capital budget and for acceptance of the FY 22-26 5-year operating capital forecasts.
So
Move
moved.
approval.
Second.
And could we include the Tommelchoff addition that we are not adopting any changes to the organizational chart?
Yes.
Good call, Mayor.
Did we get that, Pat? Yep, okay. So second, motion is a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Item number 5, 2021 Transit Life Cycle Program Rail Update. Mr. Smith?
Yeah, and this is,
Again, Paul?
Paul, if there's any questions, go right ahead, Paul.
Mr. Chair, again, this is the rail portion of the Transit Life Cycle Program. As you know, by board policy, we split our Prop 400 revenues between the bus and the rail. The rail supports primarily capital construction, but also planning. We don't support any of the rail operations. So this is a routine update reflecting the latest costs, reflecting the latest revenues. The program is in balance. If you'd like me to go through the presentation, I'd be happy to, but there are really no issues with the rail financial model. We are in balance. It does not yet include any of the American Rescue Plan funds that Mr. Smith mentioned from the Capital Investment Grant Program, but we'll certainly work with your staffs over the next few months to incorporate those into the program. But it is balanced, and there are really no issues to bring to light.
Is there any desire to look at the presentation, members? No? All right. This item was presented for information, right? So
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right. Number 6. Item number 6. Fiscal year 22 election of Valley Metro board officers and subcommittee positions.
Chair?
Yes.
Can I make a motion on this one? Because you are
Yes.
so good at what you do, Chair Heredia. I'd like to move that Councilmember Heredia serve as the chair, and then I serve as the vice chair for the Valley Metro Rail Board for this upcoming fiscal year, and that Mayor Gallego and Councilmember Heredia serve as the Valley Metro Rail representatives on the joint board subcommittee.
Second.
Perfect. All right. I think we have a motion and a second. I don't think I have any say to that. But, all in favor, say aye.
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 Voluntold.
Yeah. Perfect. Motion passes
Thank you,
here. Yeah, no worries. Item number 7, future agenda items. Any members have any items to be discussed in the future agenda? No, hearing none. Next meeting, Thursday, August 19th.
And I would say I do have a pending request
You have a pending
from a previous meeting that,
Okay. Do you want to say that again?
is that, what happens to our requests when we make them?
They are entered into the minutes as a note to staff to follow up on those agenda items. And then we figure out when to bring them back after we've evaluated and prepared the information that you've requested.
And Mayor, if I could ask, which specific request? We got a lot of requests. I want to make sure I take care of that very one, which was.
Was it related to diversity and inclusion in our contracting and small businesses that I
Oh,
made in
okay.
a previous?
Okay.
Sorry. Perfect.
I shall make the request again.
Okay. Mayor, we could probably prepare that. Is the August board meeting soon enough for you?
That would be great.
Okay,
It is
great.
certainly, yes, we do not need an additional board
I
meeting.
know we're working on it. We just haven't finished it.
Okay, we will add that for August then.
Perfect. Well, if nothing else, meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.